Hello everyone. This time I will talk about the Yamato kingship and tumulus. Around this time in Japan, tombs known as tumulus mounds began to be built. Tumulus can still be seen all over Japan, so many people should be aware of them. The period when these types of graves began to be built is called the Kofun period. It was around this time that the Yamato kingship was established. Everyone has heard of the Yamato kingship and the tumulus at least once, but there are probably some people who cannot explain them. Let's take a look at them in this video. At this time, Japan was called Weikoku. There was no written language in Weikoku, so there are no records. In order for us to learn about Weikoku, we had to look into the historical books recorded by the Chinese dynasties. However, a major battle broke out on the Chinese mainland. The Chinese dynasty no longer had the time to write about Weikoku. Thus, information about Weikoku disappeared from Chinese history books for about 150 years. This period without written information is known in Japan as the blank 4th century. This blank period of the 4th century corresponds to the first half of the Kofun period in the timeline. In the absence of written documents, we have no choice but to unravel history from material remains, such as ruins and artifacts. That's where archaeology comes in. At this time, tumulus were the subject of investigation. Tumulus are tombs that were built in ancient Japan. The size of the tumulus varies from one to another, but the largest are over 500 meters. Some of the tumulus are larger than the famous pyramids. The large tombs were built in an era when there were no cranes or trucks. From this alone, we can imagine that the person buried there must have been a person of considerable influence. What's even more noteworthy is that similar-shaped tumulus have been found all over the country. This same shaped tumulus is called a keyhole-shaped tumuli. You may remember learning about keyhole-shaped tumuli when you were in elementary school in Japan. It is a tumulus that is a combination of a circle and a rectangle. Sometimes there is a moat surrounding the castle, which is called a circumferential moat. Keyhole-shaped tumuli have been found all over Japan. This tells us that the same culture was shared across a wide area of Japan. The power that had influence over this wide area was the Yamato kingship. Yamato was thought to mean the foot of the mountain. This mountain is Mount Miwa in Nara Prefecture. It is a mountain with an exceptionally well-formed shape among the mountains in the Nara Basin. Since ancient times, this place has been worshipped as a sacred mountain where the god Amananushi resides. Because the power was located at the foot of this mountain, it is called the Yamato kingship. The Yamato kingship had a culture of building tumulus. The tumulus culture spread as leaders in various regions adopted this culture. We will talk about the Meikomiku ruins, which are considered likely to be the birthplace of the Yamato kingship. The Meikomiku ruins are located in the northwest direction at the foot of Mount Miwa. Even if you have never heard of the Meikomiku ruins, you may have heard of the Hashihaka tumulus. The Hashihaka tumulus is located within the Meikomiku ruins. It is famous for being one of the largest tumulus of the appearance period. Only the Hashihaka tumulus is famous. However, huge ditches, ritual remains, and the remains of large buildings were discovered at the Meikomiku ruins. The Meikomiku ruins are distinct from other ruins from this period. During the Kofun period, Miwa was a large city where people gathered and lived. I think you're all starting to understand what the Yamato kingship was like. Next, I'll talk about the tumulus. Tumulus can be broadly divided into two types based on the structure of the burial facility. There are vertical stone chambers and horizontal stone chambers. A pit-type stone chamber has a hole dug vertically from above the circular mound at the rear. A cave-type stone chamber has a hole dug horizontally from the side of the tumulus. What is visible in the video is an Ariyama Kofun, which is a pit-type stone chamber. If you climb up to the rear mound, you will see a signboard like this. This shows that the burial took place from above. In a pit-type stone chamber tumulus, funerals can only be held once. That is, it was for the burial of an individual. The horizontal stone chamber seen in the video is the Ishibutai tumulus. At the end of this passage, called the antechamber, is a room called the burial chamber. There was a coffin there called a sarcophagus. The sarcophagus is no longer there, but there is a reconstruction of it nearby. A coffin like this was placed in the antechamber mentioned earlier. The cave-type stone chamber allowed for multiple funerals to be held, and it was possible to add more bodies to it later. In other words, the cave-type stone chambers made it possible for secondary burials to be carried out. In this way, tumulus also changed from the vertical to the horizontal type. The structure can help narrow down the area to some extent. Pottery made from clay was sometimes found on or around the tumulus. These pottery objects are called haniwa. There are two types of haniwa, cylindrical haniwa and figural haniwa. Cylindrical haniwa are shaped like a circular cylinder. Figural haniwa are haniwa that are carved into shapes. House-shaped haniwa and haniwa figure of men haniwa are classified as figural haniwa. Another thing we should keep in mind when talking about tumulus is the Sankaku-buchi Shinjikyo mirrors with divine beasts. A Sankaku-buchi Shinjikyo mirror's rimmed divine beast mirror is a mirror with a triangular rim and a divine beast design. The Sankaku-buchi Shinjikyo mirror's mirror was made from a single mold, and multiple mirrors of the same shape have been found. Originally, they distributed what they received from China to local rulers. Maybe they ran out of them. So they started distributing what they produced within Japan. The center of their distribution was Kinki, just like the keyhole-shaped tumuli. For this reason, it is said that Kinki was the center of the Yamato kingship. In this way, the tumulus and the Yamato kingship have a close relationship. They also provide important clues to understanding the Kofun period. What did you think of this video? This is how the Yamato kingship came into being in Japan. Looking overseas at this time, mainland China was entering an era of war. This war also had an impact on the Yamato kingship and would go on to shape the history of Japan. In the next video, we will talk about the Gwangaeto stele and the 5 kings of Wa. See you in the next video.